You need to know your limit. ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮੇਰੀ addictive personality ਹੈ, I'm going for a joint because I am depressed and I'm sad and ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੈਂ comfort ਲੱਭ ਰਿਹਾ, then we have a problem.
Why do relationships fail even though the husband and wife love each other?
ਪਿਆਰ ਤਾਂ ਹਰੇਕ relationship ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੁੰਦਾ. There's more things you need. You need respect, trust. I can say I love you, but then I can beat the shit out of you in the evening.
Right.
Siblings gets compared. ਉਹਨੇ ਏਦਾਂ ਕੀਤਾ, ਤੂੰ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ? Oh my God, ਉਹਨੇ basketball ਦੀ team ਚ, you know, they got in. ਤੈਨੂੰ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਇਆ?
Yeah.
It's very important to look strong. Because if you're weak, then the whole family is weak. ਜੇ the basement dark ਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਕੋਈ ਜਾਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਸੰਦ ਕਰਦਾ, that's what our emotions are too. Nobody likes going there and they're negative and they're dark. ਹੁਣ ਜਦੋਂ ਦੋ ਬੰਦੇ ਖੁਸ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਕੱਟ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ, but they're not living it. They're fighting every day. Their kids are suffering. Their parents are suffering. ਇਹ relationship ਕੀ ਹੈ ਫਿਰ? So what is better is that ਇੱਕ relationship ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਕੁਝ ਥੱਲੇ ਜਾਂਦਾ. There's a lot of forgiveness, right? There's also a lot of sacrifice.
Right.
ਪਰ ਇਹ balanced ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ. ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਜੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੇ ਮੰਮੀ ਡੈਡੀ ਨੂੰ yell ਕਰਦੇ ਦੇਖਿਆ, ਲੜਦੇ ਹੋਏ, scream ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਦੇਖਿਆ, that's how he sees that they express anger. What do you think the child's gonna do? Express anger. Any lack of awareness ਆਪਣੀ community ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, especially for mental health. That's probably the most reason that people don't talk about it and they think it's maybe something to be ashamed of.
So Jasneet, how are you? ਕੀ ਹਾਲ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ?
Good. How are you?
Perfect. Yeah, I've been planning this podcast for a while.
Yes.
But I'm so glad we are able to do it today.
I'm glad too. Thank you for having me.
Perfect.
I appreciate it.
Jasneet, ਮੇਰੇ ਕੁਝ questions ਹੋਣਗੇ. I will talk very straight. ਸਾਫ਼ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਨਾ? Let's just come to the point. I've always felt that in brown families, mental health, depression, anxiety ਨੂੰ ignore ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆਪਾਂ.
Yeah.
We're very ignorant about it. You know, back from India only. I don't know about Canada much, but India to hi chal raha hai.
It's very similar.
Why do you think that happens?
I think there's awareness nahi hegi ede bare, you know, and it's with brown families too, even overall. I think ede bare awareness jada apan COVID de time aayi hai vi mental health vi kuch hundi hai, right? Before it was just looked down upon, right? Apan usaga mental health ਜੇ ਕੁਛ ਹੈਗਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਇਹ ਪਾਗਲ ਹੈ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਦਿਮਾਗ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਬਿਮਾਰੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, right? So we look down on it, right? Because ਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੀ ਬਾਂਹ ਟੁੱਟੀ ਹੈ, ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਦਿਖਦੀ ਹੈ. You can see it ਕਿ ਬਾਂਹ ਟੁੱਟੀ ਹੈ, the person can't work. So maybe with the mental health, you can see, you could be sitting right in front of me and you could be facing chronic depression and I wouldn't know. Right? So ਹਰੇਕ ਦੀ struggle different ਕਰਕੇ I feel like ਉੱਥੇ ਜਿੰਨੀ lack of awareness ਆਪਣੀ community ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਦੇ according ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, for especially for mental health, that's probably the most reason that people don't talk about it and they think it's maybe something to be ashamed of. Right? And a lot of people are, because they were like, like they go to a counselor, they don't want to share that they go to a counselor, that means something is wrong with you. Right? So there's a lot of shame, lack of awareness comes in play with this, right? So yeah.
Difference ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, you know, when I was coming here, ਮੈਂ ਸੋਚ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ, ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਯਾਰ psychologist, psychiatrist ਤੇ therapist.
Yeah.
ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ are all of these terms same thing? ਕਿ difference ਇੰਨਾ ਚ ਵੀ?
They're similar, but they all do different things, right?
Okay.
So therapist, which I am, I basically do talk therapy, but I cannot diagnose a person. Right?
Okay.
I can't diagnose you with bipolar disorder, whatever. I can't diagnose you. Where a psychologist can diagnose, but they can also provide interventions, meaning that they can also help you out. That, okay, A wala treatment karna hai. They work very closely with psychiatrist, who is basically a doctor jada prescription likhta hai. So he's gonna or she's gonna always write the prescriptions. They're the ones who go to med school. So education is very different with all of them, right? Psychologists are mostly like a master's, maybe even a PhD in there, right? Psychiatrists are mostly like going to med school, right? Residency. So basically doctor ho gaye, right? They're the one prescribing things. These therapists, which are me, we're just maybe a bachelor's or diplomas on top and just extra work where we're helping with people who either they've been diagnosed with something or we choose our niche, right? Then we help out those people with whatever help they need, kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
ਇੱਕ कोई भी when a person says what ਮੈਨੂੰ anxiety, first let's start with this. What is anxiety? Depression ਕੀ ਹੈ, anxiety ਕੀ ਹੈ, mental health issues ਕੀ ਨੇ? Can you differentiate them a little bit?
So anxiety is basically nervousness, right?
Okay.
But we're feeling it at a different scale, right? So what I like to think, and I think it's easier for my clients to understand, ki jehdi anxiety hai, let's say scale is 1 to 10 te pa do, right? 10 meaning you're feeling nervousness, basically. Punjabi word I think ਇਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਹੋਗਾ ਘਬਰਾਹਟ, right?
Okay.
But you're feeling ਘਬਰਾਹਟ so much, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ anxiousness feel ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ to the extent ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਘਰ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੇ, ਉਹ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ anxiety disorder.
Okay.
Right? ਉਹ illness ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ you have to go see a psychologist, psychiatrist to get help, right? To get medication. ਹੁਣ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਥੱਲੇ ਲੈ ਆਈਏ, let's say ਨੰਬਰ 5 ਤੋਂ ਥੱਲੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਥੋੜਾ ਲਾਈਟ ਫੀਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, right? For example, you and I. ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ let's say ਕੋਈ social gathering ਤੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਥੋੜੀ ਜਿਹੀ nervousness feel ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹ less anxiety ਹੋ ਗਈ, right? ਉਹ nervousness ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਵੀ, because we're setting into an uncomfortable environment, right? So ਇਹ ਆਪਣੇ brain, I like to also think it as in like anxiety is something ਸਾਡਾ brain ਸਾਨੂੰ protect ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਚੀਜ਼ ਤੋਂ, that's why the anxiety comes up. Right? And again, everybody will have a different definition for it, but then I feel like my clients understand it this way better, that we have to love these pieces of ourselves, right? When jehde hunde anxiety nu main ki jama tenu anxiety hai, why are you like this way, why are you that way? You want to show those people love. You want to show that like it's okay, it's part of you. You are, again, har ek banda similar nahi hunda, same banda nahi hunda, so it's fine, you're feeling that way. It's about accepting that part of yourself, right? Sorry, I kind of got a little off track there, but we'll come back to depression. Depression is basically, it's like your neurons in your brain are not, like it's like je tusi ek healthy, but I don't want to say healthy, but ek normal, apa healthy brain dekhiye, te apa ek depressed person, the brain, you can see chronic depression, been for a long time, the brain the brain x-rays will be different a bit, right? Depression is basically you are living in the past, and you could be not, but it's mostly, I like to define it as that anxiety is future and depression is past. Okay. Right? And it makes sense to me because we are depressed as in like kuch karnu ji nahi karda, right? We have given up hope. That's what depression is. And if you think of it, it's very sad. You have given up hope on every single thing in your life. Kuch bhi nahi karna chahte. And for that, I just want to talk about one of my clients. I have a client, he is retired, and he is now feeling chronic depression that we haven't even left the house in the last year. Can't do it. Lost over 60 pounds in weight. It's very scary when we talk about it, but then there's nothing to look forward to. I don't know why I'm here. I'm just here. Right? So it's like, this makes you sad. That's what depression is. So I like to always say that anxiety, you're worrying about something that hasn't happened. Right? You're worried about the future. Depression is something maybe in the past has happened that has made us go into this depressing hole that we're worried about the past.
So मैं depression बारे एक गल करनी चाहना, like ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ बहुत लोग दूसरिਆਂ ਨੂੰ देख के डिप्रेस हो ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ यार ਉਹਨੇ better ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲੋਂ, and this is ਹਾਂ, but ਉਹਨੂੰ ਉਹ depression ਚ ਲੈ convert ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ. And I have seen because obviously we are from brown families ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਪਤਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਬਾਰੇ, and I see a lot of people then they see others, they are like okay yaar he has done better, right? ਤੇ ਉਹ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ motivation ਲੈ ਕੇ I also push myself and do better. ਉਹ depress ਹੁੰਦੇ ਰਹਿਣਗੇ, they get jealous obviously, but ਉਹ depress ਵੀ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਨਾਲ. They stop doing their own thing as well.
That it, like, are you trying to say कि जे मेरा उन्ना दा बनया मेरा कुछ नहीं बनना?
मेरा किमें बनूंगा?
मेरा किमें बनूंगा?
Right, and I have seen these kind of people too, and it surprises me when I see these people. What do you have to say about them? Do such cases come to you? Do they tell मैनू depression हो रहा है दूजा नू देख के?
I feel like that comes with comparison. So अपनी families ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, especially in brown community, and I'm not just saying brown community, it could be any community. A ਬੱਚਾ ਦੂਜੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨਾਲ get compared since very young age. Siblings gets compared. ਉਹਨੇ ਦਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਤੂੰ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ oh my god ਉਹਨੇ basketball ਦੀ ਟੀਮ ਚ you know they got in ਪਰ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਇਆ why are you so useless why are you this way right so that's where it comes individual personalities how would you take that right so ਹੁਣ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਜਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਬੱਚਾ ਲੈ ਸਕਦਾ in positive reinforcement ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ right like oh ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਤੋਂ motivate ਹੋਣਾ like if he could do it I can do it too right but then ਉਹ depend ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੀ upbringing ਤੇ ਉਹਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ coping skills ਹੈ right how is he gonna take it so maybe the coping skill coming in place is that I'm just gonna give up fully ਕਿ ਮੈਂ try ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ because ਮੇਰਾ ਤਾਂ ਬਣਨਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ right ਉੱਥੇ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀ self esteem low self esteem right ਉਹ play ਹੋਣ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ also that you don't trust yourself enough to go
right
you don't feel like anybody trust in you for you to ਆਪਾਂ feel ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਹੋ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਜੋ feel ਕੀਤਾ is okay
right
ਹੈ ਨਾ that's all we all want to kind of feel we want to be understood ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ understand ਕਰੋ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ understand ਕਰਾਂ right or somebody believes in me right so with those kind of cases I feel like those specific individuals are just suffering from negative coping skills because coping skill good ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ coping skill bad ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ right ਆਪਾਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ earlier talk ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ like you know how you take care of yourself is by working out eating healthy right even though you're this busy you're still taking the time to do that but that is your good coping skill but you could also have a bad coping skill would be like I'm working so much let me just eat junk food today oh I cannot work out give this time to my body because mere ko bahut kaam piya karno I can't do it it's whichever coping skill an individual chooses to do then they become habits then they become routines and then they're just part of your personality later on right
jira some people say you know they don't discuss a lot but they say you know while growing up I had certain kind of issues with the family childhood trauma you know they mention but they don't talk about it you know what is a childhood trauma to see they keep on reminding themselves about the you know situations that has happened with them before ਉਹ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਹੁਣ ਵੀ ਡਿਪਰੈਸ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ what is that situation
okay
what is a childhood trauma
childhood trauma is something that happened in your childhood right ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਛੋਟੇ ਆ so let me kind of get you back so ਬੱਚਾ ਜਦੋਂ 0 ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ 7-8 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਉਮਰ ਤੱਕ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਿਰਫ ਫੀਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਆਪਣਾ brain is only can feel so ਬੱਚਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਫੀਲ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਹਨੂੰ logic ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ so as he gets older he realizes logic so in that portion of time whatever they're feeling whatever you're feeling as their parent they're taking it on so ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਬੱਚਾ ਛੋਟਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਦਿਮਾਗ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਪੰਜ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸਪੰਜ ਦੇ ਵਾਂਗੂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਆਲੇ ਦੁਆਲੇ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ it goes in right childhood trauma is basically something that happens during your childhood right ਛੋਟੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ 'ਚ ਕੁਝ ਹੋਵੇ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਰਿਐਕਸ਼ਨ ਆਇਆ ਹੋਵੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਬੋਡੀ 'ਚ it doesn't have to be like a big like chaotic trauma to happen it can be small thing that ਕਿ ਮੰਮੀ ਨੇ let's go back to basketball ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਭਰਾ ਨੇ ਬਾਸਕਟਬਾਲ ਮਿਲ ਗਿਆ you're so good ਪਰ ਇੱਕ ਭਰਾ ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਥੋੜੀ ਜੀ ਨੈਗੇਟਿਵ ਟਾਕ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ that can become a trauma for him right there
I get it
right so it can also right away that child's gonna be like I'm useless my parents don't love me I'm worthless ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹਨੇ ਉਹ experience ਨੂੰ memory ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ he's gonna make a believe about himself right that's what childhood trauma is and then that later ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਅੱਜ ਤੱਕ we're wired from our childhood we're still reacting that way ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ awareness ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ right ਆਪਣੀ community ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ alcoholism is very very prominent and it's been normalized it's not normal because we need to see where that comes from and I don't want to be like it comes with mostly let's say men right sorry I should have said daddies but you know fathers mostly they have alcoholism but they have never talked about their feelings ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਅੱਜ ਤੱਕ I think since I became a counselor or started studying I started digging into my parents' childhoods I started asking them questions so how was like this for you how was like that for you so I'll tell you a little story with my mom My mom is the youngest child in 5, and she's the 3rd daughter, okay? And my mom is a big workaholic person. Even if she's at home, she's cleaning, she's cooking. If I tell her something, she's doing everything, right?
Right.
And I was like, okay, like, tell me about, like, how was it your childhood or something? Like, why do you feel like you need to always help me? Like, ਤੁਸੀਂ relax ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ, right? She's like, oh, ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਛੋਟੀ ਸੀ, my aunt or somebody told me ਕਿ, you know, ਤੂੰ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਛੋਟੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਤੂੰ ਤੀਜੀ ਕੁੜੀ ਆ, so ਤੂੰ ਆਪਣੀ ਮੰਮੀ ਦੀ help ਕਰਿਆ ਕਰ. Right? Otherwise, your mom's not going to be upset. So she picked that belief from there as a child. ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਤਾਂ adult ਆ, ਆਪਣੇ ਕੋਲ logical thinking ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, right?
True.
We can make sense of this. But when a child hears this, they think their worth is in how useful they are for their parents or the family members.
That is how they have to live their life.
Yeah, that's how they have to live their life. So that's what my mom's been doing. Working. Even though she's sick, she's still working, right? And this is kind of like a broad examples we're using, right? But a बहुत deep चल जाता है, right? And there's something called inner child work. So basically मतलब ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਜੇ ਵੀ ਬੱਚਾ ਹੈ, right? ਇਹ ਉਦੋਂ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ trigger ਹੋਏ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, right? So example ਗੁੱਸੇ ਹੋਏ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਉਦੋਂ ਬੱਚਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਬਾਹਰ, right? ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ sad ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਬੱਚਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਬਾਹਰ. So those amount of times this kid comes out, right? Because ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਦੇਖਾਂਗੇ, ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਲੜਦੇ ਆ, right? ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਾਲ ਝਗੜਾ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ, we're loud, it's completely different than how we used to be. ਪਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਤੇ ਗੁੱਸੇ ਕਾਤੋਂ ਆ, ਪਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੁੱਸੇ ਆ, and we're really hurt. But underneath that anger, there's a lot of hurt happening, right? And this is where the inner child work comes in, that we have to go give those things to that kid ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੇ parents ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇ ਸਕੇ, right? And here's the thing, you know, what happens is, like, when we talk about childhood trauma, parents sometimes get to take offense, like, you know, ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਦਿੱਤਾ, ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ trauma ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, right? It's not on them. I think it's where we take, I don't want to say it's not on them, because it's kind of,
right.
But the thing is that you tried your best, the child knows that, right? But now the child has developed some beliefs that child now as an adult has to change them, right? ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ let's say basketball example ਤੇ ਆ ਜਾ, right? ਹੁਣ ਉਹ worthless feel ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਉਹ ਕਦੇ good play ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰੂਗਾ. He's gonna live that fear. ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਹੁਣ ਇਹ ਉਹਦੇ ਕੰਮ ਤੇ ਜਾਊਗਾ, right? It might be ਉਹਦੇ personal relationship ਚ beliefs ਜਾਊਗੇ, right? Feeling those kind of beliefs and living your life after, it is hard,
right?
And then just kind of going from there, it's a bit tough. And then we have to do the work, and I think taking responsibility.
Yeah, this is like going back to the childhood. मैं दोबारा पीछे जाना, मैं सोचता हूँ कि when I look around, you know, people in Punjab, I can say, है ना, ਤਾਂ लोग पंजाब च ਉਹਦੇ ਘਰੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਯਾਰ ਤੂੰ ਪੜ੍ਹਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਨਾ, ਤੂੰ ਰੇੜੀ ਲਾਏਗਾ.
Yeah.
Right? ਤੂੰ ਆਈ ਨਹੀਂ. And sometimes ਉਹ ਬੱਚਾ ਵੀ let's say ਉਹ ਇੱਕ 6th 7th 8th standard 'ਚ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, he's growing up, she's growing up. And maybe they take it personally sometimes. They're like, you know, maybe that could hit them hard.
Yes, because ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇੰਨਾ ਹੀ ਸਮਝਦੇ ਆ that I can only do, like, that's the thing, right? ਆਪਾਂ ਇੱਕ sentence ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੂੰ, ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਉਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਉਹਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ land ਹੋਣਾ ਹੈ. Right? And it's very, then people would be like, so you want us to watch what we say to our kids all the time?
Right.
Yes, you should watch what you say to your kid all the time.
And they listen to the whole conversation as well, between mom and dad, right?
Exactly, right? It's very important to be present in the kid's life, and because you know what the thing is, like, ਆਪਾਂ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਥੋੜਾ hard ਹੋਵੋ ਬੱਚੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, then ਬੱਚਾ ਠੀਕ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ? There's a level, there's something called balance, right? ਆਪਾਂ balance ਨਾਲ ਵੀ hard ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਬੱਚੇ ਤੇ. There can be, ਉਹ ਚਾਹ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ boundaries, ਹੈ ਨਾ? ਵੀ boundaries as an individual, ਸਾਰੇ ਉਹੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ boundaries ਬੱਚੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ practice ਕਰੋ, right? ਉਹ ਨਾਲ, one of the things, I had a client and I had a family group, and I think they were very, very, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ balance ਬਹੁਤ ਅੱਛਾ ਸੀ. ਤੇ ਉੱਥੋਂ the reason they had a good balance was because ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੂੰ ਕਦੇ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਟਰੀਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਵੀ ਤੂੰ ਸਾਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਥੱਲੇ ਆ.
Right.
ਆਪਣੀ families ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ power dynamic ਬਹੁਤ play ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ.
Okay.
We'll take away your cards if you talk back. If you don't choose the profession we tell you to choose, we won't pay for the school. Right? So a power dynamic nahi hona chahiye. At the end of the day, that's your kid.
True.
If you respect the kid, and I'm not saying that you need to respect them by this, if you talk to them with love, with care, they will reciprocate that, because बच्चा जो करदा वो थोड़े तो ही सीख के करता है. Because you always planet they are without any wiring. There's nothing is in their brain that has been ਆਪਾਂ ਸਿਖਾਉਣੇ ਆ ਬੱਚੇ
ਆਪਾਂ ਹੀ ਵਾਇਰ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ
ਆਪਾਂ ਵਾਇਰ
ਤੇ ਉਹਦੀ ਸਰਾਊਂਡਿੰਗਸ ਵਾਇਰ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ.
Exactly. Right?
ਆਪਾਂ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਫੈਮਿਲੀਜ਼ 'ਚ ਮੈਂ ਦੇਖਦਾ ਲਾਈਕ ਸਾਡੇ ਵੀ ਪਏ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਥੱਪੜ, ਆਪਣੇ ਥੱਪੜ ਥੁੱਪੜ ਪੈ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਘਰੇ, ਲਾਈਕ ਯੂ ਨੋ kids get slapped, and ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹਿੱਟ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ, ਕਈ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ, ਰਾਈਟ? How do you think that impacts the childhood of anyone?
That is trauma. That's physical trauma to the kid, right? I'm not gonna sit here and be like mere nahi kade paye, mere bhi bahut paye ne, right? I think that's one of the discipline things our parents tend to go to, right? I think that's where a family to family depend on that, right? We need to get a bit deeper into it, because kai baar I'm not saying that you should hit the kid, you should never hit the kid, right? But kai baar hunda hai ki thonu ode naal you have to talk to the child ki boundaries tu cross nahi kar sakta, right? The teriyan boundaries, for example, I won't hit you, I won't take away this from you, and there's a love for you, I won't cross those, right? There needs to be, the thing is like appa expect kar dene aur bachcha proper nikalna chahida hai, bachche nu ਇਹ ਵਾਪਸ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਬੋਲਿਆ ਬੱਚਾ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਬੋਲਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ, ਇਹਦੇ ਸਕੂਲ ਦੇ ਗ੍ਰੇਡ ਕਾਹਤੋਂ ਵਾਪਸ ਨੇ, ਇਹ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਖੇਲਦਾ ਕਿਉਂ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ. If you see the kids who have turned out emotionally intelligent, their parents are present in their childhood. Because at the end of the day, ਬੱਚੇ ਨੇ again ਉਹੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ. ਸੋ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਜੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੇ ਮੰਮੀ ਡੈਡੀ ਨੂੰ ਯੈਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਦੇਖਿਆ, ਲੜਦੇ ਹੋਏ, ਸਕਰੀਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਦੇਖਿਆ, that's how he sees that they express anger. What do you think the child's gonna do?
Same thing.
Express anger. But ਜੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ parents ਨੂੰ ਬੈਠ ਕੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਕਿ because there's gonna be problems in life. Life is not rainbows, right? And sunshine. It's not. So we need to teach the kid how to deal with those things. And we also need to learn it, because ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਵੀ ਅੱਛੀ coping skills ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਗੀਆਂ deal ਕਰਨ ਨੂੰ, right? We don't have good coping skills to learn with stress. Family ਚ stress ਹੈ, overwhelmment, the partners are yelling at each other. That is not okay. Learn how to deal with it, because the kid is learning that. Guess what the kid's gonna do in 10 years? He's gonna yell and scream when he's overwhelmed, because it has been made okay for him, right? So with that, I think if I come down to the question you asked is more about creating boundaries with the kid.
Right.
And also having those boundaries with yourself.
Alcohol te weed.
Yeah.
Apne bahut common hai. Especially Canada, the weed is like very common, I see. Do you think these things, ek jada hai depression di ya mental health di, ya this can cause like a major problem in someone's life?
See, that also depends on case to case. But I don't think they are to cause you a mental illness.
Okay.
It's on person to person. A coping skill te depend karda hai. Hun je let's say tusi depressed ho, tusi sad ho, kuch galat hoya, you go drink, right? Alcohol is a depressant already. So what that means is jo tusi feel karde ho ਉਹਨੂੰ ਥੱਲੇ ਲੈ ਆਉਣਾ, ਜਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ amplify ਕਰ ਦੇਣਾ, right? So if you see a lot of people ਜਿਹੜੇ drink ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਅੱਜ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ drink ਕੀਤੀ, we have a party, we have a blast, they're so happy.
Right.
Tomorrow, ਜਦੋਂ hangover ਉੱਤਰਦਾ, they're anxious, they're feeling depressed, or there's something else is going on. Right? It comes down to how you have a balance.
Right.
As an individual, as a human, to live a good, normal, healthy life, we need to have a balance. You can drink, you can go smoke weed, whatever, but you need to know your limit. ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮੇਰੀ addictive personality ਹੈ, right? ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ drink ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ because, or I'm going for a joint because I am depressed and I'm sad, and ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੈਂ comfort ਲੱਭ ਰਿਹਾ, then we have a problem.
Okay.
Because what's going to happen is ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਕੀਤਾ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫਿਰ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਕਰੋਗੇ, ਫਿਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਕਰੋਗੇ, ਫਿਰ keep going, and then we're addicted to things, right? But if we are doing it, let's say once a week or maybe once a month, we did it. but we did it and then we forgot about it and we moved on with our life. And the time we did it, it wasn't to help us either feel good, it wasn't help to us feel sad, or it wasn't to make us feel a certain type of way, right? Kai lokan nu social anxiety hundi hai, right? We be like, oh, I just need a couple drinks in me and you will see me on the dance floor.
Right.
I just need to have a couple drinks so I can go do this, right? Oh, coping skill ban jandi hai. That ki, oh, I need to have this because you're telling yourself. And then again, this is where personal opinions come in, right? Jada aawala question hai, te bahut personal opinion hai saaryan de. Right? Here I'm going to give you mostly my opinion on it, right? To me, it's more like that you become reliant on these things external when you're not giving yourself what you need. Hun je main apne aap te kam karan, je main apna self confidence badama, right? Main apni I make sure that ki jadon mere negative emotions mere utte aa rahe, jadon main feel trigger kar rahi haan ta main on healthy way deal kara, right? And I think we should talk about what are the healthy coping skills too, right? Then I don't need anything external to do, right? Phir mainu edi lod nahi hegi, but there are people who need it because then you become reliable on it. So thonu chahida, right? That's where I feel like it might get a problem. Right? And again, it brings it down to, I feel like our community does have that problem. Alcoholism, it's big. And yeah, I think that's kind of there.
Okay. Jade, like talking about the men, I can, relate more with the men. Like I'm an immigrant, we discussed that before as well. As an immigrant, when anyone moves here, right, we don't even know the meaning of depression and anxiety that time because we are on the go thing. And then once we are on the go thing, it just continues like that forever. Because in that process, we end up buying a house, we end up buying cars, and then we have to pay the mortgages, and we still are just going and going, right? But I have seen recently in last 1 year, with the property values and everything going down, I see a lot of men being depressed, right? I noticed that बहुत कोई बोलते नहीं के they share in the party जो तुसी बैठ के किसी नाल drink कर रहे हो वो एक drink लेके they will share यार हाँ मेरी आ problem चल रही है because they can only share with the men mostly, right? What do you think about that? Like ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲੇ ਜੋ ਕੋਈ counseling ਤੇ ਆਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਇੱਥੇ, what do you see the ratio? Like do you see a lot of men coming to you ਜਾਂ women? ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਸ time ਤੇ ਕੌਣ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ?
So I want to take us back because you said a lot of good things in that question, and I want to take it back.
Right.
So you said when you come here, you're in a survival mode.
Right.
And it's very important कि ਆਪਾਂ realize करें कि survival mode ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ है, right? ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਏ, you have fixed goal in your head.
Right.
You're just working for those. ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ time ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ to actually check in with your body ਵੀ ਤੂੰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੈ.
ਸਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ.
Right? You're busy. ਆ ਲੈਣਾ ਉਹ ਲੈਣਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਿਤੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਪੈਸੇ ਵਾਪਸ ਪਿੰਡ ਵੀ ਪੈਸੇ ਭੇਜਣੇ ਆ whatever, right?
ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ
you are stressed. ਪਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਲੈ ਲਿਆ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਹੁਣ now come to the second part, right? The depression comes in, of course, because it's a lot of stress. It's a lot of stress and that's something I want to talk as like a male, right? Men take more stress,
right?
Because as a societal, it has made ki tusi kar chalona, right? And there's a lot of unspoken rules for men's mental health ki tusi ro nahi sakde, right? And you just said ki une bandeyan ch baih ke gall karni hai after a couple drinks when he has let loose ki dude I'm stressed, right? Even that thing, like it's so like they're so guarded. And that's where I want to share something one of my clients I had in, and we were and just to kind of go back, I see a mixture of both, right? But my clientele is highly women, just basing on what I specialize in. But I have seen a lot of men over the time, and one thing is common is that to be afraid to show emotion. It will make us look weak. Right?
Yeah.
It's very important to look strong. Because if you're weak, then the whole family is weak.
Yeah, I think I will take it this way. मुझे लगता है कि instead of we don't like personally I don't think like that कि some लगता है कि weak. मुझे लगता है कि if I get weak, family भी weak हो जाए साढ़े नाल ही.
Yeah.
मुझे लगता है कि ऐसे आए सोच लेने like not everyone.
Yeah.
but I think
I guess
that's kind of
generalizing
right.
it,
Yes,
right?
true.
Ki like because that's where I kind of got it from. Like the client I was talking, and he mentioned that he's like, if I go tell my wife that, hey, we're struggling or I'm struggling, I feel like she'll start struggling right away because I am her core. मैं ਉਹਦੀ roots ਆਂ, right?
ਸਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ।
ਜੇ roots are getting weaker, she's gonna be like, okay, what do we do? What to do? Like, how is things gonna go, right? And which is very common, I feel like, with relationships, that there's a masculine and there's a feminine, right? So ਜਦੋਂ masculine ਦੀ authority, there's a lot of pressure. In conclusion, I would say it's just a lot of pressure and to be a certain type of way. There's a pressure on a female too. I don't want to take away from their struggles, but then I feel like if we're talking in this sense, a male has to showcase no emotions, right? Like, especially, I'm not saying no emotions at all. It's like the worry one, the stressed one, where you're like, you know, it's like it's hard to say, I don't know what to do, or I have not got this. Right? Like, minu nahi pata hun ki hoga, right? Like, I think a male saying that is already...
It's a trouble.
It's a trouble thing,
Yeah.
right? Like, and I think we rely on the male a lot too. So when you mention that, like, you know, it's hard to even say to the family. Because they'll get like, okay, so if you're stressed, that means we should be stressed, and what to do now, right? Hun ki kariye? Because you're the safe spot, right? So there's, again, a lot of happens underneath the inner, you can say, I like to call it your basement. The basement dark, they utte koi jana nahi pasand karta. That's what our emotions are too. Nobody likes going there when they're negative and they're dark and they're sad, and so I feel like they tend to not go there.
So when people come to you for therapy, anyone could be a male, female, we all are technically mentally same, you know,
Yeah,
human
we're humans
beings
at the end.
ਜਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ, what are the common questions that you see in a family, between a husband and a wife, in relationships? ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਆ ਕੇ? So like, I have never been to a counselor, right? I am sitting with a counselor today, so technically I am here, you know, with you, but when anyone comes and talks to you, key questions ne they? I just want to get a gist of it. What
Just kind of like what happens, right? So first of all, I think coming to counseling, it's half, ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ realize, ਪਹਿਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਆਪਾਂ counselor ਕੋਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਕਾਹਤੋਂ ਆ?
ਹਾਂ, ਕਿਉਂ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆਪਾਂ
ਕਾਹਤੋਂ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ, right? We go to a counselor when we know that ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਪਣੀ coping skill ਆਪਾਂ develop ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ life ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਲਈ work ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ. We're stuck. Now somebody said to us, go talk to a counselor. ਹੈ ਨਾ? So ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ counselor ਕੋਲ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ. There are a lot of people who come, fix me quickly. I cannot fix you.
Okay.
Right? You can only fix yourself.
True.
Right? You're here, and it takes a long time. People sometimes look for, this is, I think, the common misconceptions people have about counseling, I think. That's why I want to just address that. Like, ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ 4 session ਦੇਖ ਲਿਆ, 4 ਘੰਟੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਮਹੀਨੇ 'ਚ. Do you think you're going to get fixed in that? No. Do you think you will? ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਘੰਟਾ ਆਪਾਂ spend ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, work starts outside of that hour. So ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ, that's how the session goes. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰੋਗੇ, ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ question ਪੁੱਛੂੰਗੀ, ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ curious ਹੋਊਂਗੀ ਕਈ questions ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ, ਆਹ ਕਾਤੋਂ, we will do some exercises, right? ਪਰ ਅਸਲੀ ਕੰਮ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਇਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ session ਛੱਡ ਕੇ ਚਲ ਗਏ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ real life ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ. Right? And common things I would say with couples, I would say, is that understanding each other.
ਕੀ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੀ ਅੰਡਰਸਟੈਂਡਿੰਗ ਘੱਟ ਗਈ,
ਅੰਡਰਸਟੈਂਡਿੰਗ ਘੱਟ ਗਈ ਹੈ, or ਇਹ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਅੰਡਰਸਟੈਂਡ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦਾ, she doesn't understand me, she doesn't see how hard I have, and she'd be like, he doesn't see how hard I have, right?
And you notice this, does this happen in the first year of marriage or later in life?
I think it can happen at any time.
Anytime? Okay.
Anytime, right? And then it's also like, so there was this saying, and somebody said to me was that, ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ issues ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਦਿਖ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਬੰਦੇ 'ਚ, because ਆਪਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਡੇਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਬੰਦੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਰਾਈਟ, ਔਰ ਪਹਿਲੇ 3 ਸਾਲ ਲੱਗਦੇ ਆ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਪੂਰੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ to be comfortable, know their everything, right? Let's say 3 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਦਿਓ, right? ਉਸ 3 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਵੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਅਰਕ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਬੰਦੇ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ, ਕਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਸੰਦ ਹੈਗੀ, ਕਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪਸੰਦ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਂ नहीं work कर सकती, right? So what I like to do with my clients is that write down ਜਿਹੜੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ values ਹੈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ right ਲਿਖੋ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ wife ਆਪਣੇ ਲਿਖੋਗੇ ਤੇ what are the values that you're like, you know what, these are strict values, I will not budge on them, doesn't matter what happens, like ਇੱਥੇ ਰਿਸ਼ਤਾ ਟੁੱਟੂਗਾ, right? ਉਹ ਲਿਖ ਲਈਆਂ. Then you write on the ones that okay ਇਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ budge ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ, right? ਇਹ 'ਚ ਮੈਂ adaptable ਹੈਗਾ, ਇਹ 'ਚ ਮੈਂ adjust ਕਰ ਲੂੰਗਾ ਜਾਂ ਕਰ ਲੂੰਗੀ, right? Then you write those ones. That just gives you a good, like literally it's right in front of you ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ.
Yeah, but coming back to the question, ਦੁਬਾਰੇ questions common ਕੀ ਨੇ relation 'ਚ?
Okay.
ਇੱਕ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲੇ ਕੋਈ let's say woman comes to you.
Yeah.
ਹੁਣ ਉਹਨੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਹੈ? Like most of the time, like ਕਿਹੜੇ questions ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਕਿ ਜਸਨੀਤ, you know what, ਜਾਂ ਮੇਰੀ family 'ਚ ਆ problem ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਕੀ questions ਨੇ? I'm just curious to know the questions.
With women, okay, so with women is mostly, so I work with a lot of our community, right? And we have a lot of sexism, right? ਮੁੰਡੇ ਕੁੜੀ ਦਾ ਫਰਕ,
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ,
ਤੇ ਉਹ is a very validation from parents, validation from the society, validation from now husband and then his family, because ਉਹ wound ਕਦੇ fix ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਇਆ, ਉਹ ਚੱਲੀ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ, right?
True.
So validation is big, and then again, I'm not saying it's for everybody, but it's for some, right? And with husband and wife, it's mostly, with the men, it's like we discussed more like, you know, being able to show their emotions.
Right.
It takes me about 6-7 sessions for I get a man to actually trust me to open up.
True.
Or even try something that I'm suggesting, right? And which is fine, they're very guarded.
Right.
So stuff like that, there's a lot of stress management with men.
Okay.
We stress nu kidda manage karna hai. Okay, how to even put yourself sometimes first. है ना कि we're so eager on like, okay, आ करना है family ਲਈ इदां बनाना है, आ बनाना है, इनू इदां देना, इनू इदां देना. Can we do something for you? Right? It's very simple. Coming back to women again, I do a lot of sexual abuse survivors as well.
Okay.
So there's and that also brings me, it's very, very common in our culture, but it gets swept under the rug because of shame, right? Guilt. So it's a very common thing there too.
What do they say when they talk? What do they talk about with you?
So they basically come because with sexual abuse, what happened is that I do deal with people who have gone through as a child.
Right.
Right. And it gets tricky over time because jata body bilkul numb ho jandi hai after some time, right? You stop feeling, and I meet a lot of clients who have stopped even feeling any sort of emotion because it's too overwhelming, right? So unna de naal basically the things we find out is that, you know, and this is a sad part, I think, is that they do not even want to tell anybody about it. They just want to work through with the counselor.
Right.
Like, oh, we just want to work through it with you. Asi ithe jo bhi sanu karna hai, asithe karna, but we don't want to talk about it to anybody in the family. Why? Because either nobody's going to believe us, right? There's shame around it. There's guilt around it because je koi decide vi karda dassan nu, tu ki kita uthe, tu ka to uthe sigi, then why did that happen to you? You must have done something.
सही गाल है.
Very, very common responses. Or चुप कर जा, तू family ruin कर देनी है, चुप करके बैठ.
साਰਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਬੇਇੱਜ਼ਤੀ ਹੋਊਗੀ.
ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਬੇਇੱਜ਼ਤੀ ਹੋਊਗੀ. ਲੋਕ ਕੀ ਕਹਿਣਗੇ, right? That's very big. ਲੋਕ ਕੀ ਕਹਿਣਗੇ. And thank you for saying that, because that's a very common belief in our community. And the girls who have, girls, even boys, sorry, I don't want to say that.
Right.
Both of the genders, and that they have gone through sexual abuse, like what people gonna say? Is somebody gonna believe me?
सही गाल है.
Right? And do I have to tell somebody? Can I not just be okay without telling somebody? You know? And so it gets down to a very dark side, right? When it comes into sessions. And again, as I deal with the very heavy stuff, I also deal with people who have anxiety and depression, right?
You see a lot of people coming to you saying, you know what, I don't feel my relation is going to work out anymore. So I would probably get a divorce, but I can't share with my, you know, my wife or my husband, like both ways. Does this happen as well?
So yes. So when usually, let's say something,
or a
like,
cheating husband, cheating wife, something like that, does it happen?
So कई बार पता क्या होता है, client comes to counseling by the time it has already been happened, like the cheating has already been happened.
Okay.
The client, or they're coming because they're like, you know, we want to save the relationship, but it looks like it's going to end. Is there anything we can do to save it?
Okay.
Right? So ਦੋ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ client ਹੈ। ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਜਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਹੀ ਡਨ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਤਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਹਜੇ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਣ ਲੱਗਾ, we feel it, ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਚੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਬੰਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜਿਹਨੇ ਇਨੀਸ਼ੀਏਟਿਵ ਲਿਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਾਉਂਸਲਿੰਗ ਦਾ
ਕਿ ਠੀਕ ਕਰਨਾ
ਹੈ ਨਾ।
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ।
ਸੋ ਜਦੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਕਲਾਇੰਟ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਕਾਉਂਸਲਿੰਗ ਤੇ ਆਉਂਦਾ, I personally like to see that they're coming to fix it. Right? ਤੁਸੀਂ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਕੋਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਦਵਾਈ ਲੈਣ, right? So to me it's like, okay, you're here to fix it. As long as you're going to show up to me, it's that you're here to fix it. But sometimes when we're sitting in those counseling sessions, I can tell they're not right for each other.
Okay.
Right? Then you can see why it's not working and why it never may work out. See, even the divorce, right? We look down on it. It's not bad.
Yeah, we look down. Actually, yes, this is...
Yeah, it's not bad. Why can't... ਇਹ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ perspective ਕਿਹੜਾ ਦੇਣਾ, right? ਹੁਣ ਜਦੋਂ ਦੋ ਬੰਦੇ ਖੁਸ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਕੱਟ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ, but they're not living it, they're fighting every day, their kids are suffering, their parents are suffering, ਇਹ relationship ਕੀ ਹੈ ਫਿਰ, right? So what is better is that you end this relationship, you grieve the loss of the relationship, you move on, maybe you guys will be better as friends. I see a lot of divorced people who are really good as friends, but they could never work as partners because expectations as a partner is different. Right? So I think it's also like up a divorce, we are so ashamed of it. No, there's nothing to be ashamed about it. At the end of the day, ਇਹ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੀਣੀ ਹੈ, right?
ਪਰ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਕਿ ਲੋਕੀ ਕੀ ਕਹਿਣਗੇ।
Exactly. ਲੋਕੀ ਕੀ ਕਹਿਣਗੇ।
Especially Indian families ਤਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਆਪਾਂ like we all are, you know, in Indian families, brown families ਹੈ। ਆਪਣੇ ਇਸ ਤਾਂ ਸਿਚੁਏਸ਼ਨ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਯਾਰ ਉਹ ਰਿਸ਼ਤੇਦਾਰੀ ਬੋਲਣਗੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਬਾਰੇ if we do this, right?
Yeah. And I feel ਲੋਕ always gonna say something.
They will.
So ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਲੋਕੀ ਕੀ ਕਹਿਣਗੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ people pleasing behavior ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ। ਤੁਸੀਂ please ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਰ ਆਪ ਨਹੀਂ please ਹੋ ਰਹੇ, right? So that's where brings me to the weddings. ਆਪਾਂ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ wedding ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, right? It's ਇੱਕ ਦੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਉੱਤੇ ਦੀ ਹੈ, ਤੀਜੇ ਦੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਉੱਤੇ ਦੀ ਹੈ, right? Like we need to impress the people who are coming to the wedding.
Right.
ਹੈ ਨਾ? I'm gonna wear a $10,000 lehenga and he's gonna wear this and we're gonna... ਪਤਾ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਕੁਛ ਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਲੱਭ ਲੈਣਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ to make a point. ਵੀ ਇਹ ਕਾਤੋਂ ਕੀਤਾ, right? And that's where I want to bring to self-love is that ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਦੂਜੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ judge ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ, right? For example, tomorrow somebody, let's say close to us, is getting divorced, है ना?
Right.
ਹੁਣ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਇੱਥੇ gossip ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ we're shitting on that person. There's nothing about that person. It's you and I that needs to work on.
True.
Right? ਇਹ ਆਪਣੀ ਇਨਸਿਕਿਉਰਿਟੀਜ਼ ਬੋਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। Why? Because maybe ਕਿਸੇ ਹੋਰ ਤੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਥੋੜਾ better feel ਕਰਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਵੀ at least ਮੈਂ divorced ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ, but my marriage is also screwed up. Right?
Yeah, that's the way. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. We don't look at that way. It's like, okay, because ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬੰਦਾ actually life ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਦੇ ਆਪ ਤੇ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੋਇਆ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਕਿ life is it's none of your business, the person who understands that ਕਿ ਜੀਓ ਤੇ ਦੂਜੇ ਨੂੰ ਜੀਣ ਦਵੋ, he will or she will never sit there and make a comment. Right? Or gossip, because ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਵੀ, okay, you know how we say ਕਿ this is very common I've seen is like ਜੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਦਾ divorce already ਹੋਇਆ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਕਿਸੇ ਹੋਰ ਦਾ divorce ਹੁੰਦਾ, they won't make a comment because they know
the situation
they know the situation, they know how much it hurts, they know how hard it is, they know how big of a step it is. People like you and I are making comments.
True.
Right? Because ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ struggle ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਆਪਾਂ ਕਦੇ experience ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ, and also ਬਸ ਆਪਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ better feel ਕਰਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲੋਂ.
Yeah, because we need something to gossip.
Yeah, and people always love to gossip, right?
That is true.
And that's also a negative coping skill.
Yeah, and even I have seen a lot of, you know, Indian parents.
Yeah. Back
in India, they take so much loans, they take line of credits for marriages. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਵਿਆਹ ਕਰਾਣਾ ਆਪਦੀ ਕੁੜੀ ਦਾ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਲੱਖ ਡਾਲਰ ਦੀ ਲਾਈਨ ਆਫ ਕ੍ਰੈਡਿਟ ਚੱਕ ਲੈਣਗੇ ਤੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸਪੈਂਡ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਗੇ, ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਜਸਟ ਟੂ ਸ਼ੋ ਆਫ ਟੂ ਪੀਪਲ ਕਿ ਦੇਖੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਵੱਡਾ ਵਿਆਹ ਕੀਤਾ, ਤੇ ਮੁੜ ਕੇ 5-6 ਸਾਲ ਉਹ 10 ਸਾਲ ਉਹ ਲੋਨ ਭਰਨ ਤੇ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ.
Yes.
And they are getting depressed as well. They are getting old too.
Yeah. Because they're paying it off.
Paying it off.
ਲੋਕ ਦੋ second mortgage ਚੱਕਦੇ ਆ ਘਰ ਤੇ ਵਿਆਹ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ, right? But that it comes down to their personal choices. Right?
Yeah.
That's where it's like you choose to do what you want to do with your life.
True.
Right? That is, at that point we just can be like, it's your personal choice. If you choose to do that, you choose to do that, right?
Right.
But then you will see also a lot of people who don't care what people think. And they will do the smallest ceremony out there and they will be like, we're not going to do it.
Yeah, that is one way.
That is the one way to go about it too,
Yeah.
right? It all comes down to personal preference and how we feel about certain things, right? Maybe that family that believe different hoga, right? Kai families actually afford kar sakdiyan ediyan badi weddings, right? They have the funds. But koi Tom and Harry who can't, they want to because they want to look the same way, right?
True.
It's all about the kava, na? But again, we're not shitting on it. If
Right.
they want to do that, then go for it.
Right.
Right? For at the end of the day, you're harming yourself.
Yeah, as long as you can afford it, it's all good.
Exactly, yeah.
ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਟਰਬਲ ਚ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ
Yeah.
ਥਿੰਕਿੰਗ ਕਿ ਹੋ ਜਾਊਗਾ ਪੇ
Yeah.
ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ
And then that's where I feel like that becomes more into like the financial, I feel like, area a bit, right? Ki tusi apna finances dekho, right, on top of that. But then again, if you choose to do it, you choose to do it, right?
How about the single mothers? You see a lot of single mothers come to you for counseling, talking
Very
to you.
few. They don't have much time.
Okay, yeah.
Very few, right? But I feel like they have their hands full.
Right.
Right? And with them, I think you were probably leaning towards what I see common in them, right? Okay. The common thing they have is honestly how to provide. How to provide, or if they made a mistake. Did they take away from their kids something? Like, because they're struggling, right? They're struggling to make ends meet, or sometimes they have good jobs and they're good, right? But we're going to talk about the ones who are struggling, right? The main, common fear is that did we do injustice to our kid?
They think this.
They think that, yeah.
Okay.
And which is very common as a mother, as a parent, to have that belief because you want to provide the best for your kid, right? And that's where they need a lot of... they just need to rest, I feel like, because they have a lot going on, right? And being able to just take some time for themselves is a gift for them, right? But they went against the society to do whatever they're doing, right? A lot of single mothers, if they are surviving by themselves, it's against the society, right? Because our society looks down upon anybody who's divorced, male or female, right? And now you're a single mother on top of it. You have a baby to take care of. It's tough,
Right.
And yeah.
I have another one for you. I see a lot of people talking about postpartum depression.
Yeah.
ਉਹ ਵਾਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ.
Yeah.
So what is that? And so let's say if you're surrounded by family.
Yeah.
A woman is surrounded by the family, pregnant है, सब कुछ, everything, went well, सब कुछ होया. Can they still feel depressed?
Of course, yeah.
They can?
Yeah.
Why? Like, what exactly happens?
So there's a lot of hormones are at play, right?
Okay.
Because you just gave a birth to a baby, right? And see, this again becomes a very individual thing. Because it varies hunda vi kedi gal to kise woman li feel hoga. But most common, I think, is your body changed. You just gave birth to a living person.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
Your body changed. And also accepting the fact that now there's a life out there, right? And you're responsible for them, right? And also that now you're a mother, so there's certain responsibilities, there's a certain way for you to be, and you also look for who you are. Right? I just gave birth to this baby. Am I going to be known as his mom, or am I just me? There's a lot of identity issues that sometimes they ponder upon. And let's come back to, you said, like, even the families around, they might feel this. right? It's sometimes what happens is like, even though the family is around, we have to look into that family again, case by case,
Okay.
right? The family might be there, but are they really supporting her?
Right.
Right? Family might be there, but is she able to comfortably tell them what's really going on for her? Right? Is it a safe space for her to share what she wants to share? Right? And it's just not even the depression for a mother, even like a person like you and I. There's a lot of individuals that are high functioning in
Right.
depression. So basically meaning that they have jobs, they go out, but they're chronic depression, that they're on medications maybe, that we don't know about, right? They have family around. It's how just the hormones and the neuron balances in your head, right? And especially with new moms, it's a lot of adjustment,
Right.
right? It's like your whole life fully changed. It did a 180, right? And there's also an aspect of shame sometimes comes up, that you might not feel as excited to be a mom, or you are not making the same sacrifice that are expected of you to make. Right? Because we have like, oh, she's a new mom, so she can't maybe work, or whatever the family belief system is, right?
Right.
So with them, I think it's a lot of whatever happens with the body, of course, but then also how the support system is around them.
I think it's the pain as well.
Of course, yeah.
We are pretty ignorant to the pain part, like,
Yes.
because I have been there in terms of my health.
Yeah.
I had a fractured back
Yeah.
for 6 months, and I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I was walking around like
Wow.
that, right? And then after 6 months, I started feeling depressed in myself. I'm like, you know what? I can't even stand properly.
Yeah.
What's happening here? And then I started going downhill mentally as well.
Yeah.
But the moment I realized that, okay, you know what? This is a problem. I need to find a solution.
Yeah.
So I think ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ solution
course.
ਵਾਲੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਂਦੇ.
Yeah.
And,
And I think you said it right. It's the pain as well, right?
Yeah.
And I don't have any kids, so I don't know the pain, but I've talked to one person that comes to my mind about this. And I asked them, I'm like, how painful is it? Because
Right.
of course it's very, very painful, right?
Of course, yeah.
And again, her experience might not be similar to everybody.
Right.
But she said to me that she'll do it again.
Yeah, I mean, on the fun side,
Yeah, like
Yeah.
she's like, I forgot about it as soon as I held my baby, right?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you're right, we cannot let go of, your body is going through a lot. Like, you just gave a birth to a life,
True.
right? So we can't discard that fact.
Yeah, from what I have heard, from women, I had a manager, her name was Jody. And
Okay.
Jody was like, Kana, when are you having second kid?
Yeah.
I'm like, my wife has no plans, like she doesn't want to right
Yeah.
now. And she's like, no, tell her it's very easy second time. They just come out quickly.
Yeah, I heard that.
That
from
is
the
what
second ones, yeah.
she said. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
we'll understand
Yeah.
that, but yeah.
No, that makes sense, honestly, because I feel like it's again, right? Counseling and mental health is very different from person to person. जो थोड़े लिए काम हो रहा है मेरे लिए काम नहीं होना, जो मेरे लिए शायद काम हो रहा है थोड़े लिए नहीं होना, right? So it's a very case by case, because साडी upbringings, even though there's similarities, but still different, right? अपनी सोच, अपनी personalities, वो सारी थोड़ी different होंदी है, चाहे वो similarities हों, but we're still very different people from core.
Are there any signs, ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ, ਜਿਵੇਂ let's say, for example, me or him, anyone, are there any signs that we should say, okay, you know what, I need to go to the therapist now? ਸਾਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਈਨ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆਪਦੇ ਕਿ ਯਾਰ ਵੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ. Like, we don't know if we need a counseling session. Sometimes we need, but ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਪਤਾ ਚੱਲੂਗਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ? Like, how will we know?
See, I think what we do with the counseling thing is, right, like, थोड़ी जिंदगी, like, पूरे, like, ਬੰਬ ਚੱਲਣੇ ਹੋਣੇ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ, ਕੁਛ ਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ. That's the only time you should go see a counselor.
Okay.
And you should only see a counselor when, like, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਲੇ ਦੁਆਲੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਫਰੈਂਡਸ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਰਕਲ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆਪਣਾ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਐਡਵਾਈਸ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ, ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਫੋਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਉਹਨੇ ਵੀ ਕਹਿਤਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਵੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ, ਹੈ ਨਾ? People think that's when you should go to counseling, ਹੈ ਨਾ? ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਲਾਈਫ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਬੇਸਿਕਲੀ ਹੁਣ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੀ ਅੱਗੇ ਕੀ ਕਰੀਏ, ਹੈ ਨਾ? ਪਰ counseling is something that you can go to anytime you want to, because ਇਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਹੈ. Who wouldn't want to come here? I have a lot of clients who have came to me when clearly there was things going wrong and they want to work on it. But I have clients who just come in to give their monthly update what they're doing in their life.
Yeah, because they feel okay.
ਚਾਹ ਪਾਣੀ, right? ਚਾਹ ਪੀਨੇ ਅਸੀਂ, ਚਲੋ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ, okay ਹਾਂ ਮੇਰਾ ਹੁਣ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਹੋਇਆ, ਕੰਮ ਤੇ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਹੋਇਆ, very normal. It's the kind of relationship you want. Because ਲੋਕ counseling ਨੂੰ, again, I keep bringing it back to the point is that it's a very case by case, right? ਕਈ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ counseling only ਆਉਣਾ ਪਸੰਦ ਹੈ when things are going good, because we don't want to talk about our feelings, or maybe I'll make you be like, okay, let's dig a deeper bit. You were like, ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਥੱਲੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ, ਮੈਂ basement 'ਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ, ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਉਦੋਂ ਹੀ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਹਾਂ, right? ਪਰ ਕਈ ਲੋਕ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ basement 'ਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਦੋਂ ਹੀ counseling ਕੋਲੇ ਜਾਣਾ, ਅਸੀਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਹਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ.
Yeah, ਜੋ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਨੈਗੇਟਿਵ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ
ਉਦੋਂ ਜਾਵਾਂਗੇ, right?
But ਇੱਕ ਮੇਰੇ ਵੈਸੇ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਆਉਂਦਾ, because I'm thinking कि if I have to come to you for counseling, for example, मैं बहुत बार सोचूंगा, I would be like, you know, maybe she will tell everyone in her family about it. How secretive is that, right? तो मैं डरूंगा, so I will never go to, मैंने लगता है, I will never go to someone whom I already know, चाहे दूरों. तो मैं डरूंगा, like how secretive are you guys if someone comes to you, especially in अपने देसियां like brown families ਤਾਂ बहुत ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ कि यार ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਦਾ ਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ, मैं जाके ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ सकदा.
Honestly, somebody else asked me a question too, and I was like, interesting. So we're very confidential. So I am bound to you by a contract. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲੇ ਆਉਂਗੇ ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਕਾਉਂਸਲਰ ਕੋਲ ਜਾਓਗੇ, ਆਪਾਂ contract ਲਿਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਤੇ the only time ਉਹ confidentiality broken ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ harm ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੂੰ harm ਕਰੋਗੇ. So we don't go tell everybody around what you shared with me. We might call the cops, right? Or ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ court ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ end up ਹੋ ਗਏ ਤੇ court ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ notes ਦਿਓ, ਇੱਕ client ਨੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ. Then you have to give your notes. Otherwise, we are legally not allowed to share anything you and I share, and I can't go to talk to my family about it.
So it is so confidential that you won't even talk to your husband, your sister, your family? No, it isn't.
No way. Like now we talked about couple clients, you don't know who they are.
Right.
So what we do is like we might talk as in like, oh,
as a case
base, right? And that's where I feel like everybody should know is that we do go to counselors ourselves, है ना? ਸਾਨੂੰ ਵੀ counseling ਜਾਣੀ ਪੈਂਦੀ as a counselor, and then sometimes ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ case ਬਹੁਤ important ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜਾਂ case ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਫਸ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਕੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ, or there's sometimes like let's say I don't specialize in bipolar disorder, but my client has bipolar disorder, right? So I have to do a lot of research, but then ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ experienced counselor ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਉਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਸਾਡੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ appointments ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, so we go and talk about it, but then still again they don't know your name, they will never know who you are. ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਅੱਜ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ case study, that I have a client like, you know, they are going through this, what can I do,
without names.
No names are ever given. And then again, let's say ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹਾਂ, right? ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ counseling ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੀ, conflict of interest ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ, right? Because I know that you're not going to be fully truthful with me, right? Because there's already a relationship made, right? And as humans, we tend to go with that, like, you know, ਹੁਣ ਆਪਣਾ relationship ਬਣ ਗਿਆ ਤਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਥੋੜੀ hesitation ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀ,
basically,
so but you might be completely comfortable with a stranger counselor that you just met, right? ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਬਸ ਇੱਕ counselor ਨੂੰ ਫੋਨ ਕੀਤਾ, ਉਹ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਚੰਗਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਿਆ, ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹਦੀ give up ਕਰਤਾ. It takes an average of 4 to 5 counselors to go through for you to find the best one for you.
ਅੱਛਾ, okay.
Right, yeah, because it takes time, because ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ counselor pick ਕਰਨਾ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਥੋੜੀ connection ਹੋਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ.
Do you guys go back and forth when you're talking to someone in counseling session? Or is it more of a listening from your side? Like if someone is telling you the story, are you on the listening side? First session, second session? So,
great question. I feel like that usually helps people to feel a little bit comfortable about it. So, ਪਹਿਲਾ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਪਹਿਲੀ counseling session ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਵਾਲ ਪੁੱਛਦੇ ਹਾਂ, right? I want to know you. There's sometimes a psychological assessment we do, है ना? ਉਹ depend ਕਰਦਾ counselor to counselor. ਕਈ ਵਾਰ counselor be like, ਪਹਿਲਾ question ਉਹਨੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹੀ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਣ ਕਿਉਂ ਆਏ ਹੋ, right?
Okay.
Why are you here to see me? What's your goal from therapy, है ना? And once we develop that usually ਸਾਨੂੰ 4-5 ਸੈਸ਼ਨ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦੇ to fully know you, right? Not fully know you, but to know ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਕੀ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਕਿਹੜੇ triggers ਆ ਰਹੇ हैं, right? What you want to work on, and then it goes.
So like 5-6 hours, I would say 1 hour each session.
Yeah, 5-6 hours, which is basically I think normal if you're seeing each other, right? So first couple sessions we listen a lot, right? And you are always listening, right? Because we're waiting for you to say something that is, because but I like to define it this way. ਆਪਾਂ ਦੋਨੋਂ ਕਾਰ ਚਲਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਡਰਾਈਵਰ ਹੋ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਪੈਸੇਂਜਰ ਹਾਂ। ਮੈਂ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਉੱਦਾਂ ਡਾਇਰੈਕਸ਼ਨਾਂ ਦੇਈ ਜਾਣੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਡਰਾਈਵ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ, ਹੈਨਾ? ਤੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਜੀ ਕਰੂਗਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੋਲਣਾ, ਤੂੰ ਬੋਲ, ਮੈਂ ਬੋਲ ਪੂੰਗਾ, ਰਾਈਟ? ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਜੀ ਕਰਦਾ ਵੀ ਅੱਜ ਮੈਂ ਬਸ ਬੋਲਣਾ ਬਿਕਾਜ਼ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਕੁਛ ਹੈ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਨ ਨੂੰ, then we listen. We go based on you.
Okay.
What that client needs, right? It's very important to know what you need in that moment to give you that.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
And that takes time to figure out with the client because we're getting to know you. 3-4 session lag jande hain. After 4 session, we say a report. You and I have a good rapport, good connection, then we move on from there. Right? So yeah, that kind of takes a bit time.
Why relationships fail even when two people love each other?
So even though we have love in a relationship, we still require other things, which is like respect, trust, loyalty, right? And there might be other values. I want to take it back to our couples counseling that we're talking about, your values that you're not able to, budge on, right? You can love somebody, but then you can beat them up in the evening, and in the morning you say, I love you again.
True.
Right? You can cheat on somebody in the morning, and then the evening we still love you.
True.
Right? That is toxic. Right? So even though we're talking about love, there's also something called unconditional love and conditional love. Right? So maybe the love is like, okay, love should be enough to last a relationship. No, there's so many other requirements needed to be able to make a relationship work. And both parties need to be working on it. Right? So unconditional love ho janda jehda ਆਪਾਂ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਆਪਣੇ parents ਨਾਲ experience ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ.
Right.
Right? That they love you no matter what.
Right.
है ना? And we have seen some cases where you would be like, how could the parents still deal with this and they're still loving the person, right? But then there's something called conditional love, right? You do this for me, then you will be loved, right? So, for example, it could be that, let's take a couple's example and we can just come up with something right now, is that, let's say as a wife, she'll be like, okay, well, if you buy me this car, you buy me this, then I love you. Then you're the best husband in the world. But you didn't do that. You're making me sit in a basement. I don't love you. You're not a good husband. You're not providing for me, blah, 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 right? It's how that relationship defines love. And again, it's very important to know what is love to those individuals. Because jehdi thodi love di definition hai te meri love di definition might be completely different.
True.
Right? Tusi love shayad experience kita hoga tough love. But I might have experienced it where everybody's so caring to me and I see that as a form of supporting me. It's very different. So that's why when we say love can't hold a relationship for long, it is true. There needs to be respect, there needs to be trust. And also at the same time, it takes us back to those values, right? Hun je meri value loyalty te thodi o value hai nahi gi, how is this relationship gonna last in probably 5 years?
True.
Right? You could be like, I love you,
but I have no loyalty.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And then that also comes down to actions. And also ki appa chote hunde ki feel kita hai. There's a great book, and I can't remember its name. If I remember, I'll text it to you. But it basically goes that ki appa ਵੱਡੇ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਉਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਲੋਕ ਆਪਾਂ ਡੇਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, there are parents, the ones that we didn't like.
Okay.
So basically, that brings me back. Sorry if I'm taking a longer, but I want to bring it back to, so a lot of, again, we're generalizing, right? It doesn't mean that it will apply on every individual,
Of course, yeah.
but it's generalized. Is that a lot of girls in our community might go for unemotional men. So ਹੁਣ unemotional men ਕੀ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ, right? ਆਪਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਇਹ word use ਕਰ ਲਿਆ. Unemotional is basically ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉੱਥੇ feelings ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਆਈ, ਅਸੀਂ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਗਏ, ਹੈ ਨਾ? ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣੀ. You're getting money, you're being provided, but there's no support as in emotions. There's no like love and care in the sense of where a female might needs it. है ना? ते ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ individual ਉਹ date ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ ਨਾ, but then they know it's wrong. They know they deserve better, but they can't leave it. But he still loves me, right? Or no, he tries. Oh, this is not. ਉਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਪੇਰੈਂਟ ਸਟਰਕਚਰ ਤੇ, ਉਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਆ, ਮੰਮੀ ਡੈਡੀ ਦਾ ਰਿਲੇਸ਼ਨਸ਼ਿਪ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ, ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹ ਵੱਡੇ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਿਲੇਸ਼ਨਸ਼ਿਪ ਆਲੇ ਦੁਆਲੇ ਸੀ ਐਜ਼ ਅ ਮੈਨ ਐਂਡ ਅ ਵਾਈਫ, ਹਾਊ ਵਾਜ਼ ਦੈਟ? ਹੁਣ ਜਦੋਂ dads, most of the dads in our culture are emotionally unavailable. They give you a card, they give you a car, your tuition is paid, but I'm not here to listen to your feelings. ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਰਨਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦਾ, ਹੈ ਨਾ? So what are they doing? Is they are basically making sure that you have everything, but we're unemotional. We're not present. So ਹੁਣ ਬੱਚੇ ਦੇਖਣੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਦੋ ਕਪਲ ਹੈ, ਰਾਈਟ? ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕੁੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਡੈਡੀ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਿਆ, ਉਹ ਉਹੀ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਅਟਰੈਕਟ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ? ਉਹ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਇਮੋਸ਼ਨਲੀ ਅਨਅਵੇਲੇਬਲ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਾਈਡ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ, but he's not there. ਉਹ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਨੇ ਆ ਕਿੱਥੋਂ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ? ਆਪਣੇ ਡੈਡ ਤੋਂ, right? So it's a cycle. And we're sitting in this cycle for a long time. This is why we say love is not enough, because ਇੱਕ relationship ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਕੁਝ ਥੱਲੇ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ. There's a lot of forgiveness, right? You probably relate to that. There's a lot of compromise too. There's also a lot of sacrifice.
Right.
But ਇਹ balanced ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ. If that is not balanced, for example, if you are giving everything up, but your partner is not, ਹੁਣ ਕੀ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਨਾ, ਉਹ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ.
At some point you will be like frustrated.
Of course, you built resentment towards each other.
Yeah.
This is why I say, you know, ਜਦੋਂ divorce ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ, they're about to kill each other, right? Sometimes they'll be like, can't stand each other, right?
Yeah.
ਪਰ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ 'ਚ ਪਿਆਰ ਸੀ, right? Because over the time, like, love needs to be nurtured. Like love ਇੱਕ ਛੋਟਾ ਜਿਹਾ seed ਹੈ. ਉਹਨੂੰ ਰਿਸਪੈਕਟ ਦਿੱਤੀ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਾਣੀ ਦਿੱਤਾ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕੇਅਰ ਦਿੱਤੀ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ good positive reinforcement ਦਿੱਤੀ, positive talk ਦਿੱਤੀ. That's how the love grows, right? Because there's a lot of other things come into it.
How do you explain a narcissistic man or a woman? How does it affect the relationship? Like I know some men ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਯਾਰ ਮੈਂ ਹੀ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ, I am the important one, ਮੈਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਹੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਾਈਡ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ, ਮੈਂ ਹੀ ਪੈਸੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਮੇਰੀ ਜੌਬ ਵੀ ਟੌਪ ਤੇ ਲੱਗੀ ਹੈ, ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਵਾਈਫ ਦੀ ਤਾਂ ਜੌਬ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗੀ ਕੁਛ, ਸ਼ੀ ਇਜ਼ ਨਥਿੰਗ, ਰਾਈਟ? ਸੋਚ ਰਿਹਾ ਨਾ ਬੰਦਾ, ਸੋਚ ਰਿਹਾ, ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਬਟ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਟੌਪ ਤੇ ਬੈਠਾ, ਰਾਈਟ? ਸੋ they don't really care about the other person. They are just about themselves, ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਹੀ ਮੈਂ ਬਸ.
Yeah, it's me, myself and I.
Yes.
That's all.
And
for
they
them.
think ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਹੀ ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਲਈ, ਤੇ they are no one. How do you deal in that kind of relationship? Or even this applies to a woman as well.
Yeah.
Like there must be so many. I can't say for a woman because I don't know many of them, right? But मैं देखे ने मुंडे who are all about themselves.
Yeah.
And in their relationships also they are like that.
Yes. So with them, if they were to be a client, we need a lot of therapy, a lot of new perspective. They lack perspective, basically meaning कि ਆਪਾਂ lack ਕਰਦੇ हैं empathy ਦੂਜੇ ਲਈ.
Right.
That's what that personality type is specifically known for. They lack empathy.
Okay.
ਇੱਕ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਰ interesting ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਬੰਦਾ, like, I was explaining it to my grandma one time what it was. And she's like, so ਬੰਦਾ ਚਲਾਕ ਹੈ. I'm like, huh, chalak hai? Okay, you can put that. They're very smart. You could say they're not smart or good manipulators.
Right.
They're good at manipulating. But the thing is that they believe what they're saying.
Right.
So you and I don't see that. That's not the reality. But that individual sees that as the reality.
Yeah.
So to question that, to be able to make a space, we ਆਪਾਂ ਥੋੜੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਬਣਾ ਲਈਏ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ perspective ਅੰਦਰ ਆ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ. It takes time. It's a lot of time. And
true.
It doesn't, even individual like you and I, ਆਪਾਂ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ change, ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ change ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਚਿਰ ਆਪਾਂ decide ਕਰੀਏ. ਉਹ personality type ਲਈ it's very hard. Sometimes it's even a no.
Yeah.
Right? But it's very hard to be like, for them to be like, okay, maybe I'm wrong.
Hani, I can actually connect. ਆਪਾਂ perspective ਸੁਣਨਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਦਾ
No.
but the moment you start doing podcast you start listening to the perspective
Yes.
because you open up mentally too.
It all comes down to, see, the thing is like ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ 6 ਦਿਖਦਾ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ 9 ਦਿਖਦਾ
ਸਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ
right? Doesn't mean you're right and I'm wrong. Thodi life experience. This is what the beauty of the mental health and psychology is, that your perspective is also welcomed and my perspective is also welcomed. We're here to explore. We're here to be curious. Like, jitna bacha hunda hai, this is how the counseling session goes too. Like, I'm a child. I will keep asking you question, jo tusi kya kyon kya? Kithon aaya hai belief? So even the narcissistic, they're not like, they're just born that way. They're made that way. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਲਾਈਫ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਟਰਾਮਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਰਾਈਟ ਉਹ ਇੰਡੀਵਿਜੂਅਲ ਇੱਧਰ ਜਾ ਸਕਦਾ ਰਾਈਟ ਸੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਲਾਈਫ ਨੇ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਕੀਤਾ ਦੇ ਇਟਸ ਅ ਕੋਪਿੰਗ ਸਕਿੱਲ ਅਗੇਨ ਰਾਈਟ ਇਟਸ ਹਾਊ ਦੇ ਵਾਇਰਡ देयर ਬ੍ਰੇਨ ਐਟ that age and now they're this personality but then you might meet somebody who has addiction they wire their brain that way right that they need something so
maybe no one ever corrected them ਇਹ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ
Yeah, sometimes it's like nobody never corrected them. Somebody, again, right? Apan nu fere case by case
ho
janda, right?
Yeah.
Because thoda we can be talking to two different personalities.
True.
And then one narcissistic can be a very, aggressive, very out there. But then one can be a very quiet person. Apa label kar denne a vi jada banda thoda, aggressive hai. I don't want to say the aggressive word, but they're thoda loud hai, thoda jada opinion, doesn't mind confrontation is bad. But you don't, and I don't want to say both are bad, it's just they both have different experiences, but then you need to dig into their family systems, dig into their childhood, like ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ basement ਚ actually ਜਾਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਦੇਖਣ ਵੀ ਕੀ ਹੈ ਪਰ ਉਹ ਫੀਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ
ਹਸਬੈਂਡ ਵਾਈਫ ਥੈਰੇਪੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ
yeah
ਦੋਵੇਂ ਆ ਕੇ ਬਹਿ ਗਏ
a lot yes
ਹੁਣ ਦੋਵੇਂ ਹਸਬੈਂਡ ਵਾਈਫ ਬੈਠੇ ਨੇ ਕੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ what is their therapy about
so
I am just curious
they are eager to always
fight
not fight but ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਮੇਰਾ point ਸੁਣੋ because they need ਇੱਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਦੋ ਬੰਦੇ ਲੜ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਆਪਾਂ ਤੀਜੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਤੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਉਹਨੇ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੱਸੋ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਦੋ ਬਿੱਲੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਬਾਂਦਰ ਹੈ ਇਹੀ ਸਿਚੁਏਸ਼ਨ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ
ਤੇ ਉਹ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਸ ਚ ਗੱਲ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ do they stop each other do they fight in front of you
they do fight sometimes it does get ugly but the thing is like we have to that's where I come in right that's where the counselor comes in then we have boundaries ਕਿ okay ਹੁਣ ਆ ਇੰਡੀਵਿਜੂਅਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਇਹਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣਨੀ ਹੈ so what we usually do be like ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਕੀ ਉਹਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕੀ ਹੈ because the person could be saying let's say an example ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਤੋਂ ਆ ਕੇ ਬਸ TV ਦੇਖ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਖਾਣਾ ਖਾ ਕੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਰੱਖ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਦੇ ਹੈਲਪ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਦੇ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਦਿਨ ਕੰਮ as a woman right ਮੈਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਦਿਨ ਘਰ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ he didn't ask me he didn't offer me help he just comes and sits there he goes ਉਹਦਾ point ਹੋ ਗਿਆ she looking for connection right she's wanting to connect with him ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਥੋੜਾ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੇ right she's saying that what is husband reading it as right so ਆਪਾਂ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਪਰ husband could read it as any type of way he could have read it like oh ਮੈਨੂੰ bother ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਮੈਂ ਘਰੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਬਾਹਰੋਂ ਇੰਨਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਇਆ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੋ ਪਲ ਦਾ ਚੈਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਘਰੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ like
common ਗੱਲਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਹਰ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਚ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ
yes yeah right like let me be or ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਦਿਨ ਬਾਹਰ ਕੁੱਤੇ ਪਕਾਈ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਤੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਰਾਂ right so like
that is so true
right so he's reading it as that but you see what she's actually trying to do though so that's where the counselor comes in and I'm not saying just the woman even at the man sometimes a man could be like her to understand ki he's actually stressed out he came from work he needs maybe me time he needs something to relax then ਫਿਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਕੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੰਪਰੋਮਾਈਜ਼ ਕਰਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਮਿਡਲ ਚ ਲੈ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਓਕੇ ਚਲੋ ਹੁਣ ਓਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਘਰੇ 6 ਵਜੇ ਆਏ ਮੇਬੀ 8 ਤੋਂ 9 ਵਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵਾਈਫ ਨਾਲ ਟਾਈਮ ਸਪੈਂਡ ਕੀਤਾ ਬਿਨਾਂ ਫੋਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ so that's just a one basic example but like that's how you would handle them in a session and you would help them connect because at the end of the day it's because ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੋ ਆਪਾਂ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ
ਸਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ
right so it's very important ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਲਾਇੰਟ ਨੂੰ ਬਾਰ-ਬਾਰ ਪੁੱਛੀਏ ਜਾਂ ਆਪਦੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਪੁੱਛੀਏ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕੀ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਇਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਕੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ now okay and you confirm with that are you trying to say this because as a wife said it I'm sure you can see it as nagging too, right?
Right.
Like it's being nagged.
Right.
But underneath all that anger, she's just trying to be like, "Mera gal karo," right? I just want to connect. So it's very important to know what the message is and being able to communicate well. Even with her, she can communicate as like, "Hey, can we please connect? I just want to talk to you." Huh?
True.
So
I guess women are all about connections.
yeah, it's about connecting and understanding, talking, right? And it can be different for men, but sometimes men are more looking to connect and the woman is not able to connect, right? So it changes again, case by case. For sure.
Thank you so much, Jasneet. I appreciate it.
Thank you
कि
for
तुसी
having me.
मैं ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਘਰੇ ਆਇਆ.
No, you're most welcome.
But yeah,
Thank you.
but yeah, this was a great podcast.
Perfect,
I
thank
hope
you.
this will help a lot of people. Do you want to tell if anyone wants to come and see you and talk to you? Do you want to tell them, okay, where should they message you? What is the page? Where can they reach out to you?
So I do have an Instagram page or a website. My clinic is called Two Chairs Therapy. And I can also give you the link that you can put in there.
Right.
And they can find me there, or they can find me on Psychology Today as well.
Okay.
And they can email, phone, and then I can always see them.
Perfect.
Help out. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jasneet. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Perfect. Thank you so much.